Balancing time management, balancing life in the midst of insane expectations has never been more difficult for teenagers and parents than ever before. Is this true? Is it a myth? Is it a reality? What do you think? This is what we're going to talk about today and so much more, because I'm not just here by myself. That'd be fine, but I'm here also with my longtime friend and business partner, Loree Bischoff, and we're talking about teen life coaching. We want to welcome you to the Teen Life Coaching Show. We want you to send in your ideas, your thoughts, your feelings, the stuff and challenges that you're going through as well. Audience participation is always welcome. And yeah, before we get going, Loree, how are you doing today?
Hey, John, I'm doing great. And yeah, I'm so excited about what we've created together. And I see it as a really valuable tool for teenagers and young adults. It's going to be fun to be able to start really talking about it and letting people know it exists. And there's help for you, parents, and there's help for you to facilitate this journey with your teenagers.
I think it's fantastic. And just getting into it right now, we've talked about it on the show that we did a couple of weeks ago with Josh. We've talked about it as well in our course. We talked about it in our individual lives, building a support system, not just for adults, but for teenagers is so vital. And for all you parents that's watching this, you'll be sitting there saying, oh, finally, they're going to answer this question. Because as you well know, the support system that you put in place is indicative. It is going to spell how successful that you will or won't be. It's also going to spell what you're going to get into or what your son and daughter's going to get into or what they're not going to get into. And the purpose of this segment in the show is to really address those things. So, Loree, let's start right off the bat. How important is it to set up a really good support system, not just for adults, but also for children and for teenagers? This is the kind of thing that you talk about with your clients, is it not?
Yeah, it really is. And I think now more than ever, because we have this false notion that we're more connected than ever because of social media. So if you think you have hundreds or thousands of friends and you have communities, it's the same thing for kids. There's this sense of all of this connection, but it's not really a true connection for the most part. And the support that you would assume comes from connection, it isn't necessarily there. I swap out that word connection because it's been used now in this sense of, oh, it's so wonderful. We all have our communities and our tribes and we're connected to everyone across the world. But really, what really a better word is accessibility.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not the same as true connection. It's just simply now we have access, and that can be a double-edged sword. So I think you have to really be that true connection with your child, with your teenager, and understand that it's really more important now than ever, because the connections they think they have are oftentimes they're false. They're not really real, and so they're not really supportive connections in their life. So I think it's really important for you not only to be obviously the parent, and you're the one that's instilling the guide rails for your child, but you gotta also, I think, enact sort of the buddy system with your kid and let them know
Yeah.
often and frequently that they can come to you and you're there for them. They don't, because even though they're in a, maybe in a classroom, if they're stuck going to school every day, those kids aren't connected with each other very
Mm-hmm.
much anymore. They're all sitting there having information funneled at them, trying to pay attention or trying to ignore it, and they're on their devices and they're not really connected with each other
Yeah.
at all. So they need a support system now more than ever, because it's not really out there. It has to come from
Yeah.
home.
I think you said a mouthful there. The first things that come to my mind, obviously, we've talked about before with the rise in homeschooling and decrease in traditional education. Personally, I thoroughly love it because one of the main things is you as a parent get to spend more time with your child. And again, if you're sending them to school from what, 4 or 5 years old, whatever it is now in nursery and whatever else you've got going on, you're losing that valuable time with them. 8 hours a day. Every 10 days, that's 80 hours that you are losing with your child. It's an insane amount of time. And also that you're handing over the responsibility to somebody else to teach your child. And then you wonder why they're coming home, they don't want to talk to you. They haven't got that connection with you because you're only going to see them from what, 4 till 9. if you're lucky. And then on weekends, I didn't see my dad a whole lot when I was younger because he was away working. So I was at the mercy with my mother, basically. The other thing as well, when you're building up that network and friendship group, is it has to start at home. And we've talked about this so much that that's again the falling family dynamic that was once there, where they'd sit down, they'd at least talk to each other. In my wife's case, they'd sit down, they'd read the Bible together, they were instilling ethics, they were learning stories, they were learning their family history and traditions. It's not there as much in our Western world as what it used to be. And that is a major problem, because then what's happening is your son and daughter is going off to school or going off to college, depending the age, forming these relationship groups with people that are like them. And if they happen to be a person that they don't like internally, they're going to attract that same kind of person in. So forming your friendship groups, your peers, everything is vitally important. And I can't stress it enough. The final thing that I had just to add to that was, don't always expect, especially if teenagers, if you're watching this, that your friends are always going to be there. When you're in school, you think, oh, we'll be buddies forever. That's just the way that it works. We'll know each other, we'll be buddies forever. It doesn't. Friends come in and out of your life all the time. I can count on literally one hand, out of all the people that I've met, the people that are genuinely class as friends in 36 years, and the people that you think you're going to finish the journey with, because you started the journey with, is not the same case. And Loree, I'm sure that's the same for you with the countless thousands that you have met, certainly over your career and time.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's a little different for everyone. My kids, for example, who are in their late 30s, and actually our son just turned 40 a few days ago, they still have very close friends from their school years, and they stay close. And I think that's just amazing because I
Mm,
don't have any.
yeah,
Like I have
I'm the same.
zero friends that I have a close relationship
Yeah.
with from my school days. Everyone's a little different, but to your point, you can't assume that the people that are in your life as a young person are going to be there, because it's unusual that many of them will be on the whole journey with you. But yeah, so I think the other point that is so interesting is that you made was, when you send your child off to school every day, and sometimes starting in
Mhm.
preschool, what's happening over the course of time is that child is not necessarily consciously aware of it, but what happens is the school, the teachers, the other people outside of you start to become the authority figure, and you start to lose that.
Yeah.
So now then you get your son or daughter into their teen years, when they're feeling more
Mhm.
independent and perhaps a little rebellious, and they're challenging you.
Yeah.
And it could be like, this is not what we've been told. This is not what I'm learning.
Mm.
This is not what my teacher or this other person that I'm around all the time, every day, all day, is telling me. And maybe it's different than what you, the parent, think, or how you behave, or your ideas or values or ethics or morals. It could be completely different. And because you didn't realize that there was all of this other influence coming in at a steady pace,
Yeah.
day after day, year after year, all of a sudden now they're like, I don't agree with you, mom.
Yeah.
I don't agree with you, pops. And now you start having conflict. And then the other thing is, they're in school every day, all day, and then they're bringing home, or they're supposed to be most of the time, homework. So they're
Yeah.
not even getting everything done that they're theoretically supposed to be getting done in school. So now
But
they're
also
bringing
the
it home.
extracurricular activity as well. Just going to jump, especially I know in the United States, and it's the same over here. You can go to school. I don't know I think it's 8 till, is it 3 in the US?
Something like
Something,
that.
something like that. But then if you've got football practice till 5, and then you've got homework, you're
Right.
not going to see them until about 7 or 8 o'clock at night.
No, and then you're going to have to be the bad guy,
Mm.
whatever time that is, and be on them to get the homework done. Who wants to be doing that? It's a big ask of kids to
Yeah.
sit in a classroom all day, every day, and try to absorb and be enthusiastic
Mhm.
about what is being funneled at them, that
Yes.
they, most of it, have zero interest
Yeah.
in. But they got to learn it, and then they got to bring home stuff and
Mhm.
continue when they should be having a break from it.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
should be done. Their work day should be done.
Yeah.
And then they should be able to enjoy being a kid, extracurricular activities, family activities,
Yeah.
whatever. So I have a real problem with the way
Hmm.
that the traditional education system is set up. I had a
Yeah.
problem with it when I was in school. I hated every minute of it. It was like wearing a straitjacket from the minute I stepped foot into kindergarten until the minute I said, I'm out. I was like, this does not work for
Yeah.
me. And I will go and I'll create my life the way I want to create it.
Yeah.
I'll learn what I need to learn. And it's even easier now. It's easier to, but I didn't, when I
Yeah.
was at that stage of life, there were no cell phones and internet and computers and all that. When you wanted to go learn what you wanted to learn outside
Hmm.
of a traditional system, you had to really look for it and
It was the library or wherever
yeah.
else. I'm still just from that generation where phones were coming in and everything else, and the early phones that we had were bricks, and they didn't have the internet on them. But I did the same thing, like we talked about before. I went and studied elsewhere, and I absorbed as much information from online universities as I possibly could. And then it's when you actually try and study the actual course, certainly over here in the UK, and every institution is going to be different for sure. But when you study some of these things and it's social psychology, and you sit there thinking, I'm a guy who studies the brain. I'm a guy who studies why we do what we do, how it all functions, how it all flows, if there's an issue, where it is, all that kind of stuff. Asking me to look at the poorest sort of neighborhood in Wales is not where I'm looking for here. And that was a big part that I was just like, no, at this point I need to step away from university. But you hit the nail on the head, and it furthers the point, like we said. So 8 hours, 80 hours every 10 days, that's not including the extracurricular activity, the homework, the stuff that's there. It would be essentially like going back to work after you've done a full day's shift.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we're talking about here. How many people that are nurses and doctors and everything that going to see this are literally sitting saying, I wouldn't do another 12-hour shift. Yeah, it's madness, and
Well,
expect it with that same enthusiasm.
and if they do, it's because they've been asked to and they're saying
Yes.
yes. As an
Yeah.
adult, you get to have the choice. You
Yeah.
choose if you want to work overtime. And if you're going to make that choice and say yes or whatever, you have the freedom and independence to make those choices as an adult. Whereas when you're a kid in school, if that's what you've signed up for, as far as you're the parent and you've signed your kids up to go to public school,
Mhm.
then that's what you've signed up for.
Yeah.
That's what you've signed them up for. They got to go, they got to do that. And then whatever comes home, apparently, because
Yeah.
if they want to get through the system, the way the system
Mhm.
is designed, now they
Yeah.
have to do this too. And a lot of the burden falls on you also as the parent to make
Yeah.
sure that happens. I think it's a very unfair system. I think
Mhm.
it's a very ineffective system
Yeah.
for people. Some are cut out to get through it okay. It works for some people okay, but there's a lot of young people that it does not work well at
No.
all. It's
No.
detrimental, actually. You got to find another way. And we know that is exactly what's been happening with homeschooling for a while now, but even it's really spiked and gone up
Mhm.
the amount of parents that have decided to homeschool over the last couple of years. So bravo, because that can be a little scary as a parent. You're going to
Yeah,
question,
definitely.
oh my God, can I do this? Can I actually, am I equipped? Am I
Mhm.
qualified? Can I gather all of the material that I need? Can I actually get my child to sit down with me and do this work? So I would imagine it's a little intimidating,
Yeah.
but there are people that are doing it very successfully and have been and are there to help you everywhere. There is of information and resources to help
Yeah.
parents along. And so many parents now are saying, I'm so glad I did this. And my relationship with my teenager has improved exponentially.
But again, furthering what we're again the whole topic about it, there's a community, such a massive community now of homeschoolers that started again. A lot of it, to our knowledge, was in the US, and now it's filtered over here to the UK, which is one of the great exports. And that's been something now that has developed. I think a big part of it as well is because, and this is something that my wife often says, parent, husband, wife, whatever sort of framework you've got, they want it all. So they want to have the children, but also they want a full-time career because that's what society is saying. You can do that. You can do that. And we've talked about this a number of times that people become insolvent by wanting to have it all. Dave Ramsey was talking about this on his show the other day, that there's a couple with $190,000 a year salary that are living paycheck to paycheck. And I'm thinking, what the heck are you spending your money on? And then when you break it down, it's a $3 million house, it's a yacht, it's a boat, it's multiple cars, it's this, that, and the other. And you're thinking, this is the system that has been fostered, that people, again, lose their intelligence. The Bible talks about this a lot, especially go to Proverbs. I don't care whether you're faith-based or not, but go to Proverbs. And it immediately talks about it. It's don't follow what all these other people are doing just because it sounds good, because it tickles your ears. And that's the same for children, for teenagers, for adults, for all of us. I really got off on a tangent there for to be aware of all this stuff that's going on. And that's a big part of what we do with Teen Life Coaching, and especially through our course, that we're aiming to equip you and your son, your daughter with those tools, not only to take you from where you are to where you want to be, but throughout your entire life, and looking at self-identity, looking at how to deal with these things, and understanding that you have a lot more power than probably what you give yourself credit for. And I think the support systems are certainly a big thing that is there. But further in this, and I know this is one of your favorite topics, Loree, because I think you actually took the reins on this one, is setting boundaries for all of these different things. And as parents, like you say, sometimes you have to be the bad guy in the short term to be the hero long term, where you're saying, I don't want you spending an extra 8 hours studying extracurricular activity. We want that time together because it's not going to be there forever.
Yeah, the time goes fast. It really
Yes.
does. And as far as the course goes, here's there's a lot of pretty cool things about this course. Had I had something like this when I was trying to get through high school, just, oh my God, if I could just get through this and get on with my life. But if I would have had something like this, it would have been so exciting because the course is about you. It's
Yes.
about the individual. Now, when you're going to school, nothing's about you. Zero. It's the only thing about you is that you need to learn how to fall in line and do what you're told and follow orders and take in information and then try to regurgitate it or make sure that you know how to answer correctly on a test. That's not really about you.
And that's even a board of professors that will sit there that have won Nobel Peace Prize awards that are saying that. You can check all that out on YouTube. That's a factual statement.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've never met anyone that doesn't really appreciate when somebody takes an interest
Mhm.
in them. Tell me
Yeah.
about you. What's up for you? What are you working on right now? Is there
Mhm.
some, what excites you? What do you see happening? Where do you want to go? What do you want to do? What do you want to be? Asking young people those kinds of questions is what this course helps them figure those things out because they're not used to that unless they have some exceptional
Yeah.
parents that are doing that, and there are a
Mhm.
lot of great parents. Most parents are really good people with the best intentions. Most parents are really trying to do right in every way they know how for their children. Most. There are exceptions, obviously, and there's some really crappy parents out there. But most people really love their kids and want
Yeah.
the best for them, and they're doing everything in their know-how to
Mhm.
do in their own way. But it's easy to get into that same sort of conveyor belt rhythm of now you go to school and
Yeah.
and now it's September and this is how it's going to be until next May or June, and then there's a few
Because
months
that's the
off,
same thing the parents do.
and then you do it all over again, and before you know it they're graduating and
Yeah.
and maybe although the graduation rates
Hopefully.
have plummeted as well. I think though having a tool so that a teenager can actually dive into something that is all about them
Mhm.
is
Yeah.
exciting because that's creative, that's empowering. It ignites something within them and it ignites a spark that goes, oh, wait a sec, I didn't know I could do that. I didn't know I had that freedom or just the personal power,
Mhm.
the creativeness. I didn't know these things because
Yeah.
nobody told me. I didn't think to ask because you can't ask about something you don't know exists. So I think having something like this that really cultivates that curiosity and in a person. And teenagers are at an age where they are perfectly equipped and have their minds are developed enough to be able to look at this and go, oh, okay, I get this. I
Yeah.
can write about a vision and what I really think I want. I could think of maybe one step I could do to start moving in that direction. And oh, I understand how I could learn to focus a little bit better on some things. There's just so much there that would be so
Yeah.
helpful for not only instilling their own kind of faith and hope that they can create a future that they like, because right now everything that's coming at them is so doomsdayish, and
Yes.
they're being fed a lot of stuff that creates stress and fear and anxiety and a sense of hopelessness and this sense of what's they're going to be for me. There's nothing that I'm going to be able to do or
Yeah.
create. And that's a lie. That's opposite of the truth.
Mhm.
So we have to give them something that helps them to go to counter that narrative.
Essentially to create a compelling future for them.
Yes.
And as Josh was talking about when we spoke with him a couple of weeks ago, he'll be on the show again at some point very soon, folks, sharing his wisdom. He was talking all about that when teenagers and children and adults, everybody, when you lose hope, it is one of the worst, most deflating, defeating places to be. And I was just jotting down some notes there myself. And I love the fact that I got that experience as a youth minister for 15 years. One of the greatest lessons I learned, which was what Loree just shared, sitting, listening and talking to the kids, not preaching at them, but listening to their problems and what they had coming through and saying, guess what? The Bible's got an answer for that. Or guess what? The teen life coaching has got an answer for that. And for it not to be scary and complex and to be overly, oh my goodness, I can't actually focus on this because it's too big. It's actually simple to start changing your life. Why people don't do it is because they make it so big in their head. But if I said just change one thing every single day for a year, you've got 365 things there that are changed, 7 things in a week. Imagine what you can do when 7 things in a week change. It's phenomenal. And it stops being quite so scary there and so overwhelming and so over the top. Whereas, again, the opposing view of school is you're going to go to this class for 45 minutes, then you're going to go to this class and this class and this class, and you're expected to absorb all the information in each and every single class with the same amount of enthusiasm, the same amount of excitement as you did for the very first one. And thinking, I couldn't even do that in business. There are conversations that we have had, and Loree and I guarantee it, in meetings where we have sat and our eyes have literally glazed over. I've done podcasts before like that. You are not going to have that same amount of enthusiasm unless it is what you really want to do and what you really enjoy. And that's usually 1 or 2 things. So again, it's setting boundaries for yourself, for your teenager, and saying, you know what, we've been part of the system and we've seen the results that it can give. If we want something to be different, you, I have to do something different. If you're not happy with the quality of your life, change it. It's that simple. You can change your shirt, you change your pants, you can change your life. That simple, just by turning around and saying, I'm not happy with this anymore. What do I need to do to change this?
Right.
And start asking better questions. And that's something, obviously, when we did the course, I remember this, and it was so much fun, that we were teaching the kids to ask better questions. We looked at self-identity being one of them, and there was one of the girls that was on that she would speak very negatively about herself. And again, she's not the only one. I'm using her example because maybe you could identify with this for those that are watching, that they're just, I don't like this, I'm overweight, I'm this, I'm that, I'm the other. And we did things called the I am statements, which is you're going to affirm divinely, spiritually, what you believe about yourself. And that's what comes around. So you want your life to change, start saying some better things. And it all begins with you. That's something that Loree specializes in her own coaching as well with adults, is all about changing, dare I say it, change your thoughts and you change your life. And that's a big part of it. It's what you're filtering your mind, which goes back to what we were talking about earlier on. Again, these boundaries, and even down to what you listen, watch, taste, see, smell, it's all going to have an impact upon you.
Yeah, I think people, and it's not just young people and teenagers, but adults that I work with all the time, don't realize how you are programming your mind by the statements that you say not only to yourself, but then out loud. So you speak the word, you think it, you develop beliefs around it, and then that's the experience you have. I think teaching young people those truths
Yes.
is such an important thing that they don't connect those dots. How could they? If
Yeah.
nobody's taught them and pointed this out, then they wouldn't possibly know.
Yeah.
So a lot of the teenagers that we worked with, they all had such a great realization when we went through all of
Yeah.
that and taught them basically and gave them the tools to understand how to flip the script
Hmm.
in their mind. If they want to change how they're feeling, if they want to change their emotional state, if they want to change the way they're experiencing whatever is going on in the world around them, they have to change the way that they're thinking about it and the way they're speaking about it. They have to change the meaning that they're giving to things. And by just doing those things,
Hmm.
the experience
Yeah.
changes. But you can't change your outer experience of the world and of the people around you unless you change your inner world first. It
Yeah.
works from the inside out, not the other way around. But most people have been conditioned to think that everything outside of them, that
Yeah.
person and that circumstance and that situation, must change in order for me to feel differently.
Mhm.
And that is backwards. And it's not true. So it's pretty simple, but yeah, it's a practice. It is because we've been practicing it until you get that, you've been practicing doing it the other way your whole life. So now you're really good at it. And
That's it.
in order to flip the script around, you have to become very consciously aware of it, and then you just have to keep doing it over and over, and you will find that things will change. And waiting until you're an adult and you are like, oh my God, my life is such a mess, or I'm so stuck
Yeah.
on this, I can't seem to overcome this challenge, whatever it is, or I'm having a hard time achieving this goal. You wait until you get to that stuck point, and then we'll go out and seek out some help, counseling or a therapist or a life coach. But kids, unless they have parents that are able to recognize that in them and get them some help, but the majority are like just tripping
Yeah.
their way through life, and
Yeah. Yeah.
and they don't have that. But we can give them some of those tools now. We don't have to wait for them to hit the struggles and the low points and the challenges. We can equip them before they get there so that they can deal with things better now and moving forward. And like you said, these are beliefs and skills and tools that aren't good for just now.
Yeah.
They're there for the rest of your life, and they will help you in every endeavor that you embark upon.
Absolutely. And to give folks that are watching this that might be interested a little taste of what we're talking about here, we're talking about what you believe about yourself. How many people, and I can say this certainly for here for the UK, I can even give you the stats, but how third, fourth, fifth generation on welfare and benefits, and they just sit at home all day and they claim the benefits. They don't make a splash in the pond or do anything there. And you sit and you talk with them and you say, why? And it's my grandfather did this and his grandfather did this and so. But why do you have to choose to do the same thing? Or what can I do? You can educate yourself for a start. How many people have then gone and educated themselves, and amazing things then have started to happen, and they build momentum because they start to realize, oh, wow, I can actually do this. But you've been told the power's somewhere else outside of you. It's this, it's that, it's the other. You are creating God's image. Every spiritual book will tell you this. You were breathed, or God breathed his breath of life into you, which means you have the same spirit and the same life force available to you. Again, go to the spiritual books. Even if you're not spiritual, you realize there's something a little bit more than just you going on here. Scientists will tell you that, and we can go into so much depth about this.
Sure.
But I find it so interesting that, again, the narrative of what's being taught for the majority of the population, certainly in the West, is you go to school, you go to college, university, you follow the script, you follow the program, and you're not taught to think, which is something that we address quite straight and very straight-laced, that a lot of things that are now treated as normal in our modern world they're not. It's not normal to feel anxious and have anxiety all the time. It's not normal to be depressed all the time. It's not normal to gobble down a whole bunch of pills and to be overweight and to be confused about who you are genderly. And we're the voice in the darkness, essentially, that's crying out saying, look, it's okay to turn around and say, this is not normal. This is not unique behavior that is backed by fact, research, and a plethora of all sorts of other things.
Yeah. It's not normal, although it's common.
Yes.
So it's become very common, but just because it's common doesn't make it normal. It's not a
McDonald's
normal
are common.
natural, it's not a normal natural state of being. Kids, you're not born with angst and stress and self-doubt and low self-worth and low self-esteem and lack of confidence.
Yeah.
Nobody would learn to walk even.
How do we know this? Because human beings are another animal, another species. Have you ever seen a gender confused lion or a really anxious giraffe? Maybe if the lion's following them, I don't know. But again, it's not normal behavior. But like you said, in our modern world, it's fostered and it's told, it's common, and it's becoming more and more common because people talk about it more and more and people affirm it more and more, again, about the beliefs about themselves. So the great thing is, if you don't like something about yourself, you have the power within you to be able to turn around and say, I don't like this, I'm going to change it.
Exactly. It is about making a decision and just saying, I'm not going to tolerate this anymore. I'm going to do this instead, because you have the freedom to do that. You just have to own it, for sure. And I think one of the things that, as far as parents and trying to support your teens, you may not feel like you're in a position to homeschool. Fair enough. If you can do it, look into it, and you may change your mind. But if you're not, then there are some other things that you can do, though, to fill in some gaps and shore up your relationship with your teen, to make sure that they know that you are their safety net. And I think one of a really simple exercise to just counter a little bit of the negativity coming at them and a little bit of the barrage of nonsense on social media and all of the false images and perceptions that people are trying to create out there is to go through this really simple exercise, like on a daily basis with your teenager. Get into this habit, and I think you'll be amazed. It's really simple, but if you said, you know what, Johnny or Susie or whoever, let's do this. I'm gonna say one thing I like about myself every day. We're gonna do this together, and then I'm gonna say one thing I like about you or love about you. So you demonstrate to them that you have confidence and self-esteem and self-worth, and it's a good thing to like yourself or like some characteristics or aspects of yourself, whatever they may be. And then you tell them what you love about them or what you like that they did or how proud you are of, whatever it is, but you pay them a compliment, and then you ask them to do the same. So they say what they like or love about you, mom or dad, and then about themselves. And so you start to get into this habit of training the way they think about themselves, and that they can be comfortable having this little bit, this little treasure time, these few moments with you of this little honest exchange that is very positive and supportive.
Yeah, I think it's a fantastic thing that follows into effective communication, which is they will know then that certainly around you, in their subconscious, they're always saying, Mom's going to be the one to give me compliments. Dad's going to be the one that's going to be there. And again, if you can do it as a family, it's phenomenal. We used to play that game in our youth group where you would fold up a piece of paper, you would put the person's name or whatever, and then you would say one thing you like about that person. It could be the way they dress or the funny quirks or things like that. And I still find, I was clearing out a box the other day and I still have some of those in there. And I thought, those things stay with you forever. And if they stay with me and they've stayed with you, then what's it going to do for a teenager who may be going through a hard time when they go off to college or university, to see those things there and just have that? That's a major thing. I think it's beautiful.
Yeah. Or when they decide they don't want to go off to college and they're going to do something else, they can feel confident that that's still good.
And they're going to be able to come to mom or dad and say, I don't want to go off to university. And in my case, I'd be like, yes, brilliant. Come and work with me. I need stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's a really nice exercise, and
Yeah.
you can build on that,
Yeah.
obviously. But that would be a one way to be starting to build a solid support system
Mhm.
with your teenager.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, again, if whether you're homeschooling or not, or whether they still have to go to a public school and they're bringing
Mhm.
home homework, whatever, is go ahead and come up with a plan that's like, how can I help you? Tell me how I can best help you, and then let's figure out together, okay, you're going to work on this particular thing for the next 30 or
Mhm.
45 minutes. And then there's going to be a little reward. We're going to take a break. We're going to have a snack, or you can have 10 minutes or 15 minutes of the video game you like, or whatever it is, whatever the thing is that
Yeah.
would be considered a reward
Mhm.
to them.
Yeah.
Do the work, take a break, have a little reward, and then tackle the next thing. So now you're helping them also with a little bit of structure
Yeah.
and timing. It's not going to be like, oh, I've got 3 hours of this
Yes.
horrible stuff that I don't want to do, that I have to do, and I'm tired and cranky, and
Mhm.
all I want to do is check out and play video games.
Yeah.
So use that as some leverage. There's nothing wrong
Yeah.
with that, because now you're learning that, all right, this is
Mhm.
what I need to do to get the work done. And you're
Yeah.
helping them by giving them these ideas of structure. And this is how I'm going to help you. Let's just take it in small chunks. And then afterwards, we'll go do this together, or you can go do that thing, whatever it is. But that's
Mhm.
another way that you can help
Yeah.
be helpful with boundaries of time, boundaries of
Mhm.
focus, boundaries of attention.
What you said right there, Laurie, the first thing that came to my mind is if you do that and say they got 3 pieces or 4 pieces of homework a night, you are then fostering that time. You've just gained back an hour a day with your child. It sounds insane to even say that, but you've just gained back an hour a day with your child. And it's structuring your life as well. Because again, a lot of parents' lives, they get so busy that it's just get up, get the kids out, do this, do that, do the, oh, they come back, and it's just a whirlwind of activity. Whereas if you've got that structure and you reinforce it every single day, then you find it's like, okay, I'm learning something here. And then years later, they will pass that on to their children, should they have children. And it goes on. It's a great domino effect to certainly to deploy and enforce for sure. So I love that. I think that's a really powerful tool.
Yeah, and
Absolutely.
it communicates the message that as a parent, you're checked in with them. You're not checked
Yes.
out. You're saying, I'm here and I'm going to be
Mhm.
as involved as I can be.
Yeah.
In fact, tell me about what the work is. Tell me about what you're working on. Tell me about what they're asking from
Yeah.
you. You can become a lot more involved without
Mhm.
actually doing the work for
Yeah.
them. But you're really, that's encouraging for them, because now they know that you care,
Yeah. That helps.
right? That you care, that you're not just, this is your responsibility and I'm busy, but you care, and that is your job, to care
Yeah.
as a parent
Yeah.
and to let them know you care. So that's a really important point, and it's another way that you can do that. But they
Yeah.
at least would feel like, okay, I've got some of your attention.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
interested in me.
Mhm.
It's
Yep.
not that you're interested in the subject matter. You probably aren't either, and neither are they. But you're interested in them enough
Yes.
to go, tell me
Yeah.
what you're working on,
Yeah.
because it's really about you fostering the relationship with them.
Mhm.
That's
Yeah.
really, this is an opportunity for you to do that.
Definitely. And there are only so many of those opportunities before the child just gets used to, I got to do this and I got to do that. And it's in some ways such a simple thing. And for both of us, actually, we know how much the educational system has changed. You just take maths, for example, now, and I see some of the papers that the kids have got, and as does my wife, and the stuff that they're learning now. I'm like, what the heck is this?
Mhm.
So it's a really good way to do it for your own personal development, and you're all learning together. And it means that you're aware of what they're going through, which is another role as a parent. You don't just have kids to send them off to school. You have kids to be part of their life, to pass on the wisdom and knowledge that you've acquired throughout however many years, and
Mhm.
then to make them feel safe and secure as much as possible in this ever changing world. Your job is to prepare them for when they eventually do leave home, should they leave home in this economy. Although that might be another job, is to teach them how to manage their money and how to build finance and wealth and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, and you got to learn it yourself. And it all starts with home. It all starts with home. So I'm
Mhm.
excited really for the future should even a few people hear this, the future of home lives, we might be changing generations of people now, that's super exciting.
Yeah, it really
That's
is.
for the
There,
ripple.
at least letting people know that there's another option out there.
Yes. Yeah.
There is help. And even with homeschooling, if you don't feel like that's just possible for you, given whatever your circumstances are, now we've got micro schools popping up, which
Yeah.
is really interesting because there has been such a mass exodus of teachers themselves leaving
Yes.
the public education
Yep.
system, teachers that have become disillusioned with it, or that are no longer just with the program, that just, I'm not, for my reasons, for many reasons, I'm not going to be part of this anymore. I'm going to look for something else. And so now you have either parents or teachers starting up little micro schools,
Hmm.
which is
Yeah.
such an awesome idea, so that you as a parent go, I'm not able to do this, or I'm unwilling to do this,
Yep.
but I love the idea of sending my teenager to this micro school
Mhm.
that is just a handful maybe of students. And so they're going to get the one-on-one attention
Mhm.
from an instructor
Yep.
that can actually spend time with them, going at their pace, going through the work every day. And that's, I think, a really great option for people to look into
Yes.
as well. And they're springing up all over the place. And there's a lot of good teachers out there, a lot of good instructors that are looking for a better way as
Yeah.
well. And we're finding that this is one of them. So I'm really excited about that as well.
It's super. That's news to us. Maybe micro schools have or will in the very near future be popping up here in the UK, but that is super exciting to hear about that, because what that brings into my mind is then they always said that it takes a community to raise a child. And the community aspect is gone. Our next door neighbors either side, we speak to them in the summer, but aside from that, you don't really see or hear anything from anyone. Whereas with something like this, you have a community of people that are all going through the same thing. It's a way for parents to connect, because when life gets busy, they lose friendship groups, they lose friends and everything else. And the same for children as well. If you're homeschooling, if you're microschooling, they're having the opportunity to meet other kids, other youths, other teenagers. And I would say on the whole, it's going to be a more positive environment. I still maintain that within our lifetime, the school system is going to change radically, if not completely close down the institutionalized schools, because the funding is just not there for it. Certainly here in the UK, within my lifetime. And it's quite honestly, it's something I'm really excited about, because if it's no longer serving what it's meant to do, then you're sitting there thinking, my children will be a bit safer. There's not a sort of an agenda that's being pushed, and they can learn with other people of like-minded sort of natures. So I think that's fantastic. I really
Yeah,
do.
yeah, it's going to be interesting. And I think, I don't know how long it's going to take
Mhm.
for the traditional educational structure to collapse.
Yeah.
It,
I think we're
it,
nearly there.
it
Quite
Well,
honestly, certainly, yeah.
yeah, but there's some powerful
Yeah.
factions in place that keep
Oh, yeah.
ineffective things running. When it's related to government, that's just how things
Yeah.
operate.
Oh,
And
definitely.
so you have pretty powerful unions and such that want to keep that institution alive and clicking along just like it is. And be that as it may, though, that doesn't prevent saying, then we'll just create something new. We don't have to have the dinosaurs die before
Yeah.
we, in order to create something new, in order to create an alternative. If that's the way it's going to be, then whatever. But I don't have to subscribe to that.
Yeah.
My kid doesn't have to subscribe to that. We can look at, there are alternatives. There will be new institutions built. There will be
Yeah.
micro schools. There's homeschooling. There are some good private
Hmm.
schools and charter
Yeah.
schools that haven't been captured by the traditional stuff. So if you look for alternatives, they are out there and they are building up quickly,
Yeah.
because there are a lot of very disgruntled people
Hmm.
out there that don't want to put up with that anymore.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
options are there.
Yeah, and again, that came as we talked about earlier on. It came from the thought of somebody saying, "I don't like this. I'm not happy with this anymore." Again, we've talked about in the previous episode, folks, that statistically and financially, statistics show that it's 6% every year that the institution is closing down. To give you that in money terms, it's 50 billion a year that the school system is losing. and 40 billion a year, that the homeschool network, shall we say, is growing, which is, it's like anything. It is going to pose its own set of problems, its own set of challenges and everything. But I think it's more people that are saying, we don't necessarily want this, and it's another option that's out there. And we found that with a lot of different things coming in, obviously with artificial intelligence and everything, people are worried sick. And I think it's going to be another option that people will have, if it's used well, at their arsenal. And again, there is so many hopeful things that are actually out there. It's not all doom and gloom, however much it may seem that. It's just we
Right.
have to advance, we have to grow, and we are more than capable. We've survived numerous ice ages. We have the tools, we have every single thing we need right now to grow and develop, for sure. So it's super exciting. It's super exciting doing this show and actually remembering that there's a lot of good things going on.
Yeah, we have to remember that, and we have to be, I think, voices that are counter to the negative
Yeah.
narratives that permeate our media, because they're otherwise you get lulled into the false belief that there's only negative things,
Hmm.
that the world
Yeah.
is going to hell in a handbasket.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of negative things going on, as there always have been.
Yeah.
But as always, I feel that we come up with solutions, we overcome, we create something new, and life marches on. But that's what humanity does.
Yeah.
When it comes up against a serious need, a serious problem, humans figure out solutions. Humans are problem solvers. They're problem creators, but they're
Yeah,
also
they create the
problem
problem, then we've
solvers.
got to find a solution now.
I have hope that the messiness of a lot of the tug of war
Yeah.
that's going on now, but it's what causes the people that
Yeah.
want to come up with solutions to come up with solutions. So
Yeah.
it will happen.
The interesting thing about it as well, when I talked with my dad, when I used to talk to my granddad before he passed, they all said the same thing. It was like our generation came up and they were the 60s, the rock and rollers, the free love, the wild child, and everything else. And then their generation grew up and I was created. And then all of a sudden it was, oh, now we've got this problem. And now my generation is saying, we've got problems with LGBTQI and all this other identity stuff. And their generation will grow up and they'll be like, yeah, now we've got mass exodus and robots and we're living on Mars and everything else. There is always going to be problems there. So if you're looking for a problem-free life, you better keep looking because it doesn't exist here. But it's always going to be there. I guarantee the Victorians said the exact same thing. These steam trains, it's absolutely terrible. And it goes on and on. And the sooner you realize that, the better it is.
Yeah, things come to pass, and new things come in to take their place, and that
Yeah.
is just the cycles of life. It just
Yeah.
is. When you resist those things, you suffer. So
Yeah.
you're better off to just accept that life evolves, and we must evolve along with it.
And
And
it has to.
it does. That's the nature of life, is evolution and expansion, right?
Yeah.
So things don't, if it's not evolving, changing, growing, then it's devolving.
Yeah.
And that's just it. So you got to get with the program. And
Yeah.
if you don't like the program that's playing right now, then be part of a solution.
Yeah.
Think differently or make different
Definitely.
choices. This course, I think, really plants those seeds in the
Yeah.
minds of teenagers who are just getting the barrage of doomsday stuff at
Definitely.
them all the time, and they are losing hope and they're questioning what their future is going to be like. They're very afraid. They're
Yeah.
being made to be afraid of things they don't need to be afraid of.
Hmm.
And coaching, there are so many proven benefits to coaching, and there's studies out there. I was looking at one the other day that said 80% of people who receive coaching report increased self-confidence, which is
Yes.
a massive thing
Mhm.
that in of itself,
Yeah.
because it's foundational to every action that you may or may not take is, well, what's your confidence level?
Yeah.
Right? That's a pretty big stat right there. And over 70% benefit from improved work performance, relationships, more effective communication. And we talk about those
Yeah.
things in this course. So if this works for adults, there's no reason that young people won't
Yeah.
reap those same benefits, and many others as well. So I think the teenage or the teen life coaching course for teenagers is a great way for them to experience and gain the benefits of all of the aspects of having a coach in your corner, of having your own personal life coach without actually having to hire your personal
Yeah,
coach. Not
definitely.
everyone is able to do that, but this is the next best thing. And it's going to be very effective, as we already know for the
Yeah,
people that have gone through it. It's
yeah,
very effective,
yeah.
and they all come out going, that was not what I thought it was going to be. It was really good. They're surprised, and that's
Yeah.
something to see.
It is. It's fantastic to see. It was fantastic to do live. It was obviously the videos that we put together, the packages. It's a phenomenal thing. And I always look forward to times when we can do it again and we can do it with a live participation audience. Because for those of you that don't know that are watching this on YouTube or Instagram or LinkedIn, wherever you might be watching this, we're fostering a community on Facebook, Teen Life Coaching Community, where you can go, you can join, we can ask you questions and build up a community of people as well, like we've been talking about all the way throughout this, so you don't feel like you're on your own. With regards to the school system, all I will say is this: if you think it's bad now, go back to the times of Victorian times. That's your alternative. It was the workhouse. So perhaps it isn't as bad as what we think it is, because that wasn't pretty nice or anything like that. And people were so delighted when schools came along. So again, it always evolves, it always changes. For more information, of course, about the course, go to bischoffmorris.com, and we'll be putting up links and all sorts of other stuff. Loree, we're almost out of time. Is there anything that you want to say before we wrap up the show for today?
No, I think we've covered some good stuff today. And yeah, check out the course. There's some really good information there, and reach out to us if you've got questions, and we'll be happy to answer them. And yeah, even if you don't have a teenager, you might know somebody that does, and
Yeah,
so share the information with them, and let's help these kids out. They're
yeah.
up against a lot at this time. So let's help them out and give them an edge.
Absolutely, absolutely. And the importance in this, just before we sign off, is to see things as they are, but not make them worse than what they are. And when you look at that, it's an amazing thing just to look around and say, okay, this might be struggling right now, but it isn't going to last forever. And it's a season and it's a time to grow, time to develop. And with Teen Life Coaching, obviously with our course, with all the other stuff that we've got going on, you have the opportunity to really bond together more and more with your son, your daughter, your grandson, your granddaughter, because this isn't limited to any age. And we are here, of course, as much as we can be to help you with whatever you're going through, to help you get from where you are to where you want to be. So sounds good.
Sounds good. Thanks for watching, everybody, and we hope to hear from you.
Absolutely, folks. So until next time, don't forget to share and subscribe, and we will see you in the next episode. If you've got questions for us, don't forget, you can comment straight in. You can get in touch with us on the Teen Life Coaching community on Facebook, on the Facebook page as well. There's Teen Life Coaching, type Teen Life Coaching, and you're probably going to find us somewhere. And bischoffmorris.com for more information about the course. Until next time, take care, and we'll see you in the next episode. See you soon.